Good to have with us today Dan Ashmore of the Old Paths Quartet. Dan, how you doing?
Doing good, pretty good. How about you?
I cannot complain. How about life there in the Atlanta area, right? Isn't that the neck of the woods you hail from?
That is right, Beaufort, Georgia. Things are going pretty well in our area. We've not had any craziness that's been going on in other places around where we're at, so that's a blessing.
You personally, are you originally from the Beaufort, Georgia area, which, if memory serves me correct, that's maybe a little northeast of Atlanta?
Yeah, you're right. I'm not from Beaufort, Georgia, though. I'm originally from Mississippi. I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, and I grew up in South Haven, Mississippi, about a mile from Memphis.
Very familiar with the area. Did you grow up loving Southern gospel music, or was there a point in your life where you were introduced to it and you started loving it?
There was a point where I was introduced to it, and I started loving it. I grew up in church, and I sang hymns, and I've always kind of liked the hymns, but I really, my interest was mainly in country music. I liked classic country. I loved hearing Johnny Cash, Charlie Pride. I love those guys, and I've always loved the singing. And then I got introduced to Randy Travis, and I heard a gospel song he did, and I started liking gospel music a little bit. And then when I was 17, my grandfather bought a cathedral's farewell celebration DVD, and I started watching that with him, and I started listening, and I just couldn't believe the harmonies, 4-part harmony. Of course, I was intrigued by the bass singer, George Yance, and I'd always, never even heard Southern gospel mentioned. So when I heard all of this, it was just like a new world to me, and I ended up loving it, fell in love with it. Had a quartet come to our church. They let me sing with them a little bit, and that was it. I was hooked.
You were bitten once they let you sing a little bit.
I sure was. I was hooked from then on, and ever since. I mean, that's mainly the music I listen to.
You know, it's interesting in these conversations that I have with individuals, the cathedral's name comes up often. And just about every bass singer you talk to has been influenced by George Yance. I mean, did you try to directly kind of style your music, your means by which to present the bass part after Yance, or what kind of influence did he have?
I did at first, and then once I started growing more as a singer, I started taking a little bit of everything from everybody that had good traits or good styles. In other words, I've taken kind of the Play-Doh, the different types of Play-Doh, and put it together and come up with my own thing. I think there's something that can be gathered from each singer, especially bass singers. There's been so many good ones, and there's still so many good ones in our music today. And so I've tried to take a little bit from each one of them and just use it to my own advantage with my own voice.
Let's talk about the Old Paths trio initially, quartet now. What changed things for Old Paths to go from 3-part harmony to 4 back in about 2012?
Well, obviously they knew that without a bass singer, they just couldn't go any further. Bass makes everything better.
So they call you, or do you try out? Had they heard you previously? I mean, how did that relationship grow?
Oh, that was real interesting. I was going to school at Ole Miss University, and I was working at Chili's, and in the summer I do construction and whatnot. And they called me back about September 2011, and they mentioned wanting to have me audition for the group. They heard a video of me on YouTube that my dad had posted, and they knew the man that I was singing with, a great friend of mine, Donald Talent from Memphis Quartet out of Mississippi. I was singing with him, just filled in that time. My dad put that video up, and they saw it, and they called me and asked me to audition. And at the time when they were talking to me, I was thinking, okay, do they sound okay? Are they any good? So I pulled them up on YouTube, and I got back to my apartment after work that night, and I just sat there in unbelief that they'd call me because they were such a great trio, such a great group. They didn't need a bass singer, in my opinion. I joke about them needing it, but they sounded so good before. So for somebody to call me like that was just overwhelmingly appreciative, because a lot of times in our type of music, most groups want somebody with experience. And I didn't have that experience to bring to the table. I just had the ability and needed somebody to work with. So that was really awesome for me. I answered prayer.
Let me ask you a question that I posed actually, I think last week to Pat Barker with the Guardians, because the Guardians were a trio before he was added and became a quartet. So, from your perspective, is it difficult, more difficult, less difficult, no pressure, some pressure to turn a trio into a quartet, and you're the guy that did it?
Um, there is some pressure for my part. There was, I felt, because, like I said before, they were such good singers. Without me, that throwing me in there, I had to really pick up the pieces, so to speak. Because if I didn't do what I needed to do, they obviously could go back and do it without me. And so, of course, I think that mentality is a good thing to keep in any group. Realize that you are replaceable, that they can go without you. There's a certain amount of humility that goes to growing as a singer, and I've always wanted to keep that mentality because we can't do good enough. We can't. There's no way we could outperform ourselves. I think we should always grow, and but yeah, I think that they could have clearly sang as a trio, and it wouldn't have hurt them.
Did you, is that the point in which you packed the bags and moved to the Atlanta, Georgia area? Was when you joined Old Paths?
It is. I started renting a house in Dallas, Georgia, when I joined the Old Paths, and I mean, I packed everything up the day after I got a call from them, and I just went ahead and I just by faith came on out here, and I auditioned, and they liked what they heard, and it was a little scary, but it's been a huge blessing. The guys have been great to me, and it's been one of the biggest opportunities I've ever had.
Let's go to 2015 when Old Paths decided to step off the path for a moment. What stopped things in 2015 and restarted them 2 years later?
The best way I can really put it was we felt God leading us to come off the road for a little bit. Sometimes you need times of refreshing in your life. Tim's daughter had just had major surgery, kidney replacement. Doug's son was getting out of prison, and I know Doug had a heart to be with his son and try to help him as he got out. And for me, I had just gotten married not long before then. I just wanted to be home. And the more we prayed about it, the more that answer became real. And honestly, none of us had any idea we'd sing again as a group. We were all happy with one another, and we got along great. And we'd call each other and chat during this time off. And then God worked it out for us to come back. And I think that time of refreshing helped us rebuild what we needed to do for the next part of the chapter. And of course, adding Steve Ladd makes it a little bit easier to do as far as going back, because you got somebody that can just forevermore sing. I've always loved hearing Steve sing. I've heard him with Gold City, with Anchorman, and just a phenomenal talent, phenomenal guy. So that made that a lot easier.
Did any of the group members during that 2 year time frame consider going to another group, or was it Old Paths or nothing?
It was Old Paths or nothing. And it's not that we didn't like anybody else. We just didn't feel called to do it. I never even considered it. When I came off the road, I had a few people call me, and I think they were upset with me that I wouldn't even consider it, but I just didn't feel God leading that way. I felt like God wanted me to be home, and I got a normal job. And, I felt like God was all in it. And then whenever he called us back, I felt like God was all in it too. So, but we didn't really aim to want to go sing with anybody else. So it was just interesting how that worked out for everybody to get back together in the same way.
What was the catalyst that brought you back together? I mean, was there one specific event, or was there one individual that said, you know what, I'm going to call the rest and just see what their thinking is? I mean, was there one instance that you can put your thumb on?
Not necessarily, but Crossroads Music Company and Chris White were talking to us here off and on, about coming and doing limited select dates. And we told them, we said, we don't have a tenor singer. What do you want us to do? We can't sing as a trio with a bass singer. That would just be really weird. And so they said, well, we got the perfect tenor singer for you. We got Steve Ladd. And we really just laughed about that. Like, he's not going to come sing with us. He's got his solo ministry going on. Things are going well. he doesn't need to come sing with us. But Steve agreed graciously to come do some, select dates, and um, we hit it off from there. And once we got Steve, it was like we had the right mix again, and the camaraderie and the compassion or the passion we had for what we were singing about just clicked together. And from then on, I mean, when you have that much fun singing and you enjoy it with one another, and it's a real ministry, you get excited about doing it full time again. And so that renewing came back in effect whenever we added Steve.
I want to ask you about the song Broken People Like Me. I love the song, and two, to me personally, I think some of the most effective singers, pastors are those who can say, listen, man, I'm right there where you are. I've been there. I understand. And that to me is what that song says. How did that song become part of an Old Paths project and then become the tune released to radio?
Well, Kenna West wrote that one, and when we first heard it, it was just so powerful. When I first heard it, I would listen to the song and I would think, man, this is a good song. But I kept listening to it over and over, and then I realized, you know what? This is a song about me. I'm the one that's been broken. I'm the one that's had trouble. I'm the one that sinned against God. But that's what the Church of God is for. That is what church is about. It's about broken people. Jesus came to save those who are lost and those who are hurting. Jesus said, those who aren't sick don't need a physician, but those who are do. And so I think part of that truth comes out in Broken People Like Me, which makes it even easier to minister to people that way, because I know that without God, I'm nothing. And then without God, I would perish and die and go to hell. But thankfully, He loves broken people like me. And we want everybody we sing to know that they are welcome into Christ's arms because He died for broken people just like me.
Was there any hesitation in releasing the song? Because admittedly, we as Christians like to hide the fact that we've got issues too. I mean, so was there any hesitation at all?
No, we as a group, we're all kind of the same as far as our mentality goes. We're just down to earth guys, and I'm no different than you. You're no different than me, and I mean, we all get up in the morning, and regardless of our background, our degrees, our accomplishments, we're still people that need Christ, and I think being real and genuine like that with people is really what wins them over. You never see in the scriptures where the religious people win over people. I mean, they come across as judgmental, and that judgmentality really gets personified in Christians when they try to act like they're better than somebody. When the fact is, we're not. We're all broken, and so we knew that whenever they were asking us what song we wanted to release, we said, well, this one's speaking to us right now. This is what we feel God wants people to hear. And when that happens, you just have complete confidence in what song gets released.
This COVID-19 situation that has slowed the pace again. I mean, you basically are off 2 years. You get back into the swing of things. Does this feel like another slowdown where you're concerned, or was it a needed break?
I would have to say both. The break for me has been enjoyable because I've gotten to spend time with my family. Of course, I say that because we tend to look at things as a problem sometimes. This COVID-19 thing is seemingly problematic. It is problematic financially. It is problematic with concerts and being able to go out and minister. But God tells us to use the best of every situation, and so I've tried to look at it in the perspective of, okay, God wants me to be here with my family and spend time with my daughter and my wife, and I'll just enjoy this time while I'm here. And when we get busy going again, I'll enjoy that. So I wasn't ready to slow down per se, but now that I'm here, I'm just enjoying it because I don't have any other choice. Might as well be content.
How do our viewers, how do our listeners find out more about Old Paths? Get your product, find out where you're going to be, that kind of stuff.
They can go to www.theoldpathsonline.com. You can search us on iTunes, Spotify, Apple Music, pretty much anything. Just Google us, it'll pop up, and just keep in touch with us. Sign up. We have a newsletter we send out each month. We let people know what's going on in our ministry. We try to send out a scripture of the month. Keep up with birthdays. They find out stuff about our families they didn't know, so they can. It's more of a personal thing. We don't want to be distant, in our relationships with our friends and fans. And I think that's also a very important aspect of our ministry. We've always been real close with our friends, and if it wasn't for our friends and our fans, we wouldn't have made it as far as we have. So we were grateful. But yeah, they can reach us on our website, Facebook. We have a Facebook. Keep up with us there.
Dan Ashmore, Old Paths Quartet, it has been great to have you with us today, and we're looking forward to more great music from you guys out of Atlanta.
Awesome. Thank you.